Today is the 9th day of 8 a.m. 18 days Bhagavad Gita reading spree. Today we are going to read chapter 9, which is Raj Vidya Yoga. It is also called Yoga through the King of Sciences and is situated in the middle of Bhagavad Gita. As we know, there are total 18 chapters. In our usual academics, we have read the different branches of science like physics, chemistry, biology, etc. However, what we are going to read today is the king of all sciences. We will start with reciting Sanskrit verses. अथ नवमो अध्यायः श्री भगवान उवाच इदं तुते गुह्यतमं प्रवक्ष्यामन्ये सूयवे ज्ञानं विज्ञान सहितं यज्ञात्वा मोक्षसे शुभात् राजविद्या राजगुह्यं पवित्रमिदं उत्तमं प्रत्यक्षावगमं सद्धर्म्यं सुसुखं कर्तुं व्ययम् अश्रद्धानाः पुरुषा धर्मस्यास्य परं तप अप्राप्य मां निवर्तन्ते मृत्यु संसार वर्तमनि मया तत्मिदं सर्वं जगद्व्यक्तमूर्तिना मत्थानि सर्वभूतानि न चाहं तेष्वस्थितः न च मत्स्थानि भूतानि पश्चिमे योगमेश्वरं भूतभिन्न च भूतस्थो ममात्मा भूतभावनः यथाकाशस्थितो नित्यं वायुः सर्वत्र महान् तथा सर्वाणि भूतानि मत्थानित्युपधारे सर्वभूतानि कौन्तेय प्रकृतिं यान्ति मामिकां कल्पक्षये पुनस्तानि कल्पादौ विसृजाम्यहं प्रकृतिं स्वामस्तभ्य विसृजामि पुनः पुनः भूतग्राममिमं उत्सन्नवशं प्रकृतेर्वशात् न च मां तानि कर्माणि निबध्नन्ति धनञ्जय उदासीन वदासीन मसक्तं तेषु कर्मसु मया दक्षेण प्रकृतिः सूयते सचराचरम् हेतुनानेन कौन्तेय जगत् परिवर्तते अब जानन्ति मामूढ़ा मानुषीं तनुमाश्रितं परं भाव जानन्तो मम भूत महेश्वरं मोघासा मोह कर्माणो मोह ज्ञाना विचेतसः राक्षसी मासुरीं चैव प्रकृतिं मोहिनीं श्रितः महात्मानस्तु मां पार्थ दैवीं प्रकृतिम् आश्रितः भजन्ते न मनसो ज्ञात्वा भूतादिं व्ययम् सततं कीर्तयन्तो मां यतन्तश्च दृढवताः नमस्यन्तश्च मां भक्त्या नित्युक्ता उपासते यानि यज्ञेन चाप्यन्ये यजन्तो मामुपासते एकत्वेन पृथक्त्वेन बहुधा विश्वतो मुखम् अहं कर्तुरहं यज्ञः स्वधाहं हमोषधं मन्त्रोऽहं हमेवाज्यमहं अग्निमहं हुतं पिताहमस्य जगतो माता धाता पितामह वेद्यं पवित्रमोङ्कार ऋक्सां यजुरेव च गतिर्भर्ता प्रभु साक्षी निवासः शरणं सुरहितः प्रभः प्रलयः स्थानं निदानं बीजं व्ययं तपाम्यहं वर्षं निगृह्णाम्युत्सृजामि च अमृतं च मृत्युश्च सत्सत्साहम् अर्जुन त्रैवेद्यामां सोमपाः पूतपापा यज्ञरिष्पो स्वर्गतिं प्रार्थयन्ते ते पुण्यमासाद्य सुरेन्द्रलोकं नश्यन्ति दिव्यां देवी देवभोगान् एतं भुक्त्वा स्वर्गलोकं विशालं क्षीणे पुण्ये मर्तलोकं विशन्ति एवं त्रैधर्म मनुप्रपन्ना गतागतं कामकामा लभन्ते अनन्याः चिन्तयन्तो मां ये जनाः पर्युपासते तेषां नित्याभियुक्तानां योगक्षेमं वहाम्यहं ये पन्य देवता भक्ता यजन्ते श्रद्धयान्विताः ते अपि मामेव कौन्तेय यजन्ते विधिपूर्वकम् अहम ही सर्वयज्ञानां भोक्ता च पटुरेव च न तु मां भिजानन्ति तत्त्वेन तस्यवन्ति ते यान्ति देवव्रता देवान् पितॄन् यान्ति पितृव्रताः भूतानि यान्ति भूतेज्या यान्ति मध्याजिनो अपि मां पत्रं पुष्पं फलं तोयं यो मे भक्त्या प्रयच्छति तदहं भक्त्युप्रहितमस्नामि प्रतयात्मनः यत् करोसि यद् स्नासि यज्जुहोसि ददासि यत् तपस्यसि कौन्तेय तत्तु कुरुष्व मदर्पणम् शुभाशु फलैरे मोक्षसे कर्म बन्धनैः संन्यास योग युक्तात्मा विमुक्तो मामुपैस्यसि समोहं सर्वभूतेषु न मे द्वेषो अस्ति न प्रियः ये भजन्ति तु मां भक्त्या मयि ते सुचाप्यहम् अपि चेत्सु दुराचारो भजते मामन्य भाग साधुरेव समन्तव्यः सम्यक् वसितो हि सः क्षिप्रं भवति धर्मात्मा सस्वच्छान्ति निगच्छति कौन्तेय प्रति जानीहि न मे भक्तः प्रणश्यति मां हि पार्थ व्यपाश्रित ये अपि स्युः पापियोनयः स्त्रियो वैश्यास्तथा शूद्रास्ते अपि यान्ति परां गतिं किं पुनर्मनः पुण्यः भक्ता राजर्षयस्तथा अनित्यं सुखं लोकमिमं प्राप्य भजस्व मां मन्मना भव मद्भक्तो मद्दासी मां नमस्कुरु मामे वैश्यसि युक्तैव आत्मानं मत्परायणः ओम तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्म विद्यायां योग शास्त्रे श्री कृष्ण अर्जुन संवादे राजविद्या राजगुह्य योगो नाम नवमो अध्यायः। जय श्री कृष्ण। So now we will start summary of this chapter in English as usual. Chapter 9, Rajvidya Yoga, which is Yoga through the King of Sciences. In the 7th and 8th chapters, Sri Krishna declared Bhakti as the easiest means of attaining Yoga and also the highest form of Yoga. In the 9th chapter, he speaks of his supreme glories, which inspire awe, reverence, and devotion. He reveals that though he is standing before Arjuna in his personal form, he must not be misconstrued to possess a human personality. He explains how he presides over his material energy and creates myriad life forms at the beginning of creation, absorbs them back at the time of dissolution, and then manifests them again in the next cycle of creation. As the mighty wind blowing everywhere rests always in the sky, likewise all living beings dwell in him. And yet, by his divine Yogamaya power, he remains a neutral observer, ever aloof and detached from all these activities. Sri Krishna resolves the apparent confusion of the Hindu pantheon by explaining that the one God is the sole object of worship. He is the goal, the support, the refuge, and the one true friend of all living beings. Those inclined toward the ritualistic ceremonies of the Vedas attain the celestial abodes, and then, when their pious merits are depleted, they return back to the earth again. But those who engage in exclusive devotion towards the Supreme Lord go to his abode. Sri Krishna thus exalts the super excellence of unalloyed bhakti that is directed towards him. In such devotion, we must live in complete union with God's will, offering all that we have to him and doing everything for him alone. By such pure devotion, we will be released from the bondage of karmas and attain the goal of mystic union with God. Further, Sri Krishna asserts that he neither favors nor rejects anyone. He is impartial towards all creatures. If even while sinners come to his shelter, he willingly accepts them and quickly makes them virtuous and pure. He makes a promise that his devotees never perish. Seated within them, he provides what they lack and preserves what they already possess. Thus, we should always think of him, worship him, dedicate our mind and body to him, and make him our supreme goal. So that finishes the summary of chapter 9. Now, starting from verse 1, the English meaning. The Supreme Lord said, O Arjun, because you are not envious to me, I shall now impart to you this very confidential knowledge and wisdom, upon knowing which you will be released from the miseries of material existence. This knowledge is the king of sciences and the most profound of all secrets. It purifies those who hear it. It is directly realizable in accordance with dharma, easy to practice and everlasting in effect. People who have no faith in this dharma are unable to attain me. O conqueror of enemies, they repeatedly come back to this world in the cycle of birth and death. This entire cosmic manifestation is pervaded by me in my unmanifest form. All living beings dwell in me, but I do not dwell in them. And yet, the living beings do not abide in me. Behold the misery of my divine, behold the mastery of my divine energy. Although I am the creator and sustainer of all living beings, I am not influenced by them or by material nature. Know that as the mighty wind blowing everywhere rests always in the sky, likewise all living beings rest always in me. At the end of one kalp, all living beings merge into my primordial material energy. At the beginning of the next creation, O son of Kunti, I manifest them again. Presiding over the material energy, I generate these myriad forms again and again in accordance with the force of their natures. O conqueror of wealth, none of these actions bind me. I remain like a neutral observer, ever detached from these actions. Working under my direction, this material energy brings into being all animate and unanimate forms. O son of Kunti, for this reason, the material world undergoes the change of creation, maintenance, and dissolution. When I descend in my personal form, deluded persons are unable to recognize me. They do not know the divinity of my personality as the Supreme Lord of all beings. Bewildered by the material energy, such persons embrace demoniac and atheistic views. In that deluded state, their hopes for welfare are in vain. Their fruitive actions are wasted, and their culture of knowledge is battled. But the great souls who take shelter of my divine energy, O Parth, know me, Lord Krishna, as the origin of all creation. They engage in my devotion with their minds fixed exclusively on me. always singing my divine glories, striving with great determination, and humbly bowing down before me. They constantly worship me in loving devotion. Others engaging in the yajna of cultivating knowledge worship me by many methods. Some see me as undifferentiated oneness and is none different from them, while others see me as separate from them. Still others worship me in the infinite manifestations of my cosmic form. It is I who am the Vedic ritual. I am the sacrifice and I am the oblation offered to the ancestors. I am the medicinal herb and I am the Vedic mantra. I am the clarified butter. I am the fire and the act of offering of this universe. I am the father. I am also the mother, the sustainer, and the grandsire. I am the purifier, the goal of knowledge, the sacred syllable Om. I am the Rig Veda, Samveda, and the Yajur Veda. I am supreme goal of all living beings, and I am also their sustainer, master, witness, abode, shelter, and friend. I am the origin and the resting place of creation. I am the storehouse and the eternal seed. I radiate heat as the sun, and I withhold as well as send forth rain. I am immortality as well as death personified. O Arjun, I am the spirit as well as matter. Those who are inclined to the fruitive activity described in the Vedas worship me through ritualistic sacrifices. Being purified from sin by drinking the som juice, which is the remnant of the yajnas, they seek to go to heaven. By virtue of their pious deeds, they go to the abode of Indra, the king of heaven, and enjoy the pleasures of the celestial gods. When they have enjoyed the vast pleasures of heaven, the stock of their merits being exhausted, they return to the earthly planes. Thus, those who follow the Vedic rituals, desiring objects of enjoyment, repeatedly come and go in this world. There are also those who always think of me and engage in exclusive devotion to me. To them, those minds are always absorbed in me. I provide what they lack and preserve what they already possess. O son of Kunti, even those devotees who faithfully worship other gods also worship me, but they do so by the wrong method. I am the enjoyer and the only Lord of all sacrifices, but those who fail to realize my divine nature must be reborn. Worshippers of the celestial gods take birth amongst the celestial gods. Worshippers of the ancestors go to the ancestors. Worshippers of the ghosts take birth amongst such beings, and my devotees come to me alone. If one offers to me with the devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or even water, I delightfully partake of that article offered with love by my devotee in pure consciousness. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer as oblation to the sacred fire, whatever you bestow as gift, and whatever austerities you perform, O son of Kunti, do them as an offering to me. By dedicating all your works to me, you will be freed from the bondage of good and bad results. With your mind attached to me through renunciation, you will be liberated and will reach me. I am equally disposed to all living beings. I am neither inimical nor partial to anyone. But the devotees who worship me with love reside in me, and I reside in them. Even if the vilest sinners worship me with exclusive devotion, they are to be considered righteous, for they have made the proper resolve. Quickly they become virtuous and attain lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that no devotee of mine is ever lost. All those who take refuge in me, whatever their birth, race, sex, or caste, even those whom society scorns, will attain the supreme destination. What then to speak about kings and sages with meritorious deeds? Therefore, having come to this transient and joyous world, engage in devotion unto me. Always think of me, be devoted to me, worship me, and offer obeisances to me. Having dedicated your mind and body to me, you will certainly come to me. So that finishes chapter 9. Come again tomorrow and we will do chapter 10 together. We will continue with our 8 a.m. 18 days Bhagavad Gita reading spree. Thank you.